Good evening, everyone. It's Becky. Welcome back to the podcast. I apologize if my voice sounds a little different. I went for a jog yesterday with my dog, and now ever since then, I've had this weird dry cough. So if this podcast is not the best quality, I apologize. Well, vocab was fun. Kind of short, but honestly, I think it was a little too deep for me. Like when I learned that there are so many different layers to all that stuff. For one, this girl ain't got the time to dig that fucking deep. And like I went on I guess there's a kink dating app, which is actually pretty stupid. It looks more like a game than an app or a dating app. Anyway, I just think that the BDSM, the kink, all those communities are just people looking for labels, looking to have a name. Like, I know there's a description for this, but when you're in a relationship with someone and you're in that relationship for a long time to the point to where you look for that person's direction in most everything that you do, and you do it because about 90% of the time it's the better choice than what you have made. It's the better choice than what you would have made. Or you can say to yourself, duh, why didn't I think of that? That's a dom sub relationship. Like the sex part, okay, he tells you what you can and can't do and punishes you for it. Or rewards you, depending on the situation, right? So that happens in a regular relationship. It's what keeps the sex fun. It's what keeps the sex alive so that the relationship and the sex doesn't get boring. So they just put labels on stuff now so that, okay, whatever. Unless I totally don't understand it. That may be, because I guess, like I said, there's a lot of layers to all this shit that I really don't have the time to dig and learn about all of it. So I mean, I'm not going back on what I said. I think I would love a sub-dom relationship if there was limits. I would be one of those girls that had a lot of limits, because I think because of my experience, there's a lot to fear. I guess fear might be the right word, it might not. Anyway, I'm going to do some more research on that before I dig deeper into that, because I already sound enough like a jackass. I don't need to sound more like a jackass by talking about stuff that I don't know what I'm talking about. Um, I think tonight we're going to talk about control, feelings, and emotions when it comes to being tied up, and different age groups. Like, so if you were to use a 21 or 2-year-old woman, for example, who has never experienced being tied up or restrained, and she has had nothing but like one night stands from bars and whatever, and say pretty basic relationships, and you present her with these restraints and you say, let me tie you up. She's gonna say, okay, sure. But what I want to talk about is, depending on her personality type, once you tie her up, what goes through her mind? Sure, she's excited, she's nervous, she's anticipating if the sex is going to feel any different, better, or worse. But I want to talk about what she feels when she's tied up and she realizes that she is at your mercy. A long time ago, I was tied up for the first time. I don't think it was the first time. And this is when I learned that I am a control freak. So we were very aroused. The both of us were very into it. We were very aroused. We had already basically had sex, and we were both very turned on. And I think we used like some type of fabric tie, a necktie, I think. And me, because of my personality type, as soon as my wrists were tied together and I laid down on the bed and he started kissing me and he started caressing my boobs, and I didn't know what to do. If you can't use your hands to reciprocate, then how do you reciprocate without using your hands? Well, your mouth, silly. So I am a very traditional girl when it comes to, let me take that back. I was very traditional 10, 15 years ago. I am more likely to experiment nowadays with stuff than I was 10 or 15 years ago. So my hands are tied up, and he's kissing my neck and caressing my boobs, and I feel a little anxious and I feel a little trapped because I'm not used to it and I don't know how to reciprocate. Oh my God, why is this word so hard? How do I return the favor of how he is making me feel? How do I make him feel the same way without using my hands? My mouth, right? So as he is kissing me, I go to kiss him back, but instead I stick my tongue a little farther in his mouth. And I kind of do like this curl motion with it, like a come hither type of curl motion with my tongue as we're kissing. And also, when your hands are tied up and you're super excited and you're really hot and your pussy's wet and you're trying to stay aroused, and it's depending on your personality, being tied up may help you in arousal, and some it may make your arousal dissipate a little bit because of your nerves. But you can also return your feelings and how it's making you feel by moving your hips around. You can turn your body and face him, and you can grind on him. You can make pleasurable noises as you're kissing. You can use your feet and rub his legs. You can tell him to fuck you in his ear. You can lick his earlobe. You can use your hands that are tied up probably above your head, right? You can use your hands, grab his hair. So there are ways of reciprocating your pleasure, the signs of pleasure, even though you don't have your hands. Now, if I'm getting tied up, bitch, you're next to get tied up. Because I like to play fair. And don't forget, I like to torture. Does that make me a masochist? Hold on. I just had an epiphany. I like to tease. And I don't like to humiliate. But I like to tease and torture. Fuck, does that make me a masochist? I think I classify as a sadist to some extent, because I was reading a little bit more on that. Anyway, left hand turn. I really should not do these podcast episodes when I'm this tired. So let's think about how or what he would do if his hands were tied up. He would probably, let's be honest, he's gonna grind on you, and he's going to probably caress with a lot of his caressing is now with his mouth instead of his hands. And because he cannot use his hands, he's going to nudge his whole entire body against yours. Closer to you, at least. And honestly, in every situation I've been in, I was the one that was tied up, and it was very short term. Because I'm a control freak. I even struggle with relaxing enough, or I used to. When I get into my head, I struggle with relaxing enough for it to feel good because I'm a high stress person. I always have a lot of stress in my life. Excuse me. So even back in the day when I was having sex on a regular basis, whenever I wanted, just life and kids get you so stressed out that by the time you're ready to lay down and close your eyes, you can't let it all go enough to be in the mood, to relax enough to be in the mood. And it's self-sabotage. Sometimes even now, sometimes I feel like I would have to smoke a nice fat bowl just to relax enough to enjoy myself. I don't know what would happen, you guys, if my hands and my feet were tied up. I might freak out. Well, y'all, tonight's episode is probably a little on the boring side. I do apologize, but I do think that I am just overtired tonight. And I have something heavy on my mind. That has nothing to do with this podcast. So instead of continuing on this episode and boring you to death, I'm gonna turn in, y'all. I'm going to bed. Until tomorrow, guys. See you later.